You are listening to Hard House History with Paul Glazby.
So, Phill Smith, welcome to Hard House History, and you've been pretty integral in sort of documenting a lot of Hard House history yourself with the Tony DeVee documentary, the Don't Ever Stop, which is excellent. And it was actually Tony's sister who recommended that we have a conversation. So here we are.
Oh, wow. That's great. Thank you, Jane.
Yeah.
Oh,
Sorry, say again.
we love Jane. I'm just saying, we love Jane. She's an absolute legend.
Oh, we love Jane. Yeah. So let's go back, I guess, to the. Did you ever see Tony? You might be too young. I'm just looking at you. You're probably too young. You never saw Tony play, did you?
No, I never saw him play. No, I think he died probably about the same year I ever went to a club at 98. I was 16 then. So, never saw him. But but by the time I was clubbing, it was this sort of legendary story that, and he's on all these CDs, Global Underground CDs, story started then.
Yeah, well, that's what got me into going to after parties and listening to that CD. In fact, I was listening to it today. So your introduction. How did you? I mean, at 16 years old, obviously you shouldn't even be going to clubs. But how did you sort of start? What got you into it in the first place?
You mean the film or the dance, or just dance music generally?
So no. I'm so back in '98 when you were an underage clubber. Like, how did that come about?
Even this one of these lads with like a fast car and stereo, and he'd play dance music, and I managed to borrow his ID when I was 16. Went to the Flaming Colossus in Leicester. If anyone from Leicester's will know that it's opposite the prison, and so we managed to sneak in and get to see Boy George when I was 16, DJ, and that was me hooked, I suppose. Just straight into it then, and then in those days it was like Passion. I grew up in Leicester. So I used to go to Passion all the time. And then, I think every week, then when Storm happened, we'd go to Storm. I went to the first 4 Storms in a row. Couldn't wait for that. It was emerging hard house sound. Still got a lot of the flyers, actually. And then up to my 18th birthday, I was at Passion, and my best friend said to me, "Where do you want to go tonight?" And we said, "Let's go to Insomniacs." And we went to see you play. So I've still got the flyer for that as well. It goes way back.
Is that what you sent to me?
I sent to you. I've got the flyer still. So yeah. So just
amazing. Yeah. So obviously Storm, Insomniacs. Like, was there any other clubs that you were sort of doing back then?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's that sort of M1 trip, I suppose, wasn't it? So it's like Passion, regular in Storm, and then we go to Gatecrasher as well. I think we went to Insomniacs venues. Was it Utopia? And then I can't remember the
Europa,
Europa, sorry. And then in 2000, it wasn't at Europa, was it? It was somewhere else.
I went to a corporation, I think it would have been, or I can never remember the timeline. There was National Centre for Popular Music. There was Corporation. Yeah, it's such a blur, that whole sort of period. And then, so back then, were you just a clubber, or did you get into mixing yourself?
But yeah, I did have decks. Still got some here, actually. But I'm a bit of a terrible mixer. I played on decks for years and years, and even at university, I actually had my own like mini club night, and I still couldn't even mix then. And actually managed to play once at Air, and that or Code at the time. Played there once for 50 years and got hauled off. So it was. It was terrible. I could pick some good music, but only recently I've finally figured out how to actually mix the records. But I did it handy when later on when I was making this film, actually having the knowledge of the music, and actually mixing on an edit is easier than live. The live thing is I don't know how you guys do it when you've got everyone's faces looking at you, and you're trying to do a mix. I don't know how you do it in the moment. It's a hell of a talent.
Well, I'll tell you what I found. So I did a live stream when I was back in England last week, week before at Amadeus place, and she went, "Oh, we're gonna do the first hour on vinyl," and I've not played a record. Is this all right? I've not played a record for, well, the last time I played vinyl was when I did my 10-hour set, which would have been nearly 14 years ago.
Yeah.
So I've not played on vinyl in all that time, and obviously I don't even have any vinyl, so we're using hers, and she got everything, you know, all the old Vicious Circles and a lot of my old records and stuff ready for me, and but yeah, I mean, it was nice to, because the pitch control on a 1210 it's completely different to what's on a CD, and the I was talking to Farley about this a couple of weeks ago, like on the CDJs, because you've got the visual cue of the tempo, so you can just put the other, you know, CD or USB and just basically go, okay, match it with your eyes, and then now sometimes it works. 80% of the time it works, but there's sometimes where it's drifting out, but your eyes are telling you it's right, but your ears are going, no, it's not. So I've actually decided what I'm going to start. I'm going to get some little bits of paper and I'm going to cover the things, just to take my eyes out of it, because then I can go back to the old way of just trusting my ears, which is what I did is the only way to do it on vinyl. So I think that's what I'm going to start and do, because it does actually get more confusing, but just the feel of that pitch control especially when it's like, I mean, sometimes, you know, when they've been ragged around and it gets all loose, but Amber's decks were, I don't know, she must look after them, but yeah, it was just really nice to like ride that pitch. But it was weird because you're just in a studio and you don't have that feedback of people watching, you know, like it was a strange sensation. And the first mix that I did, it was fine, but then the fucking record was scratched, so it all jumped and went out anyway. So but
tried those that when you've got like not perfect equipment and records. Yeah, my records were always scratched. I always remember my he plays at Tidy Weekender, Danny Birch. He came and DJ set at our university night years and years ago, and the record players were so knackered. During the set, he got a pound coin and sellotaped it to the stylus so it'd stay down. His mixes were immaculate. I don't know how it's. It's a talent that I'll never ever get. But on CD decks, it's loads easier. That's for sure.
Yeah. So then so have you always been a filmmaker? Is that like has been your career?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so I went to uni to study television production, and then got into documentaries. I worked at the BBC for 12 years. So that was from Birmingham, and then moved up to Manchester, and then so we made maybe a documentary every year amongst loads of other things, and then 5 or 6 years ago we set up our own production company, and one of the benefits of doing that is that you can just make whatever you want. You don't have to wait for the BBC to say yes. You can just make. So yes, that's good. But we've made loads of different stuff. We've made films about JFK, about Tommy Fleetwood, the Beatles over the years. Loads of different things, and it's a really good variety, like meeting famous people and interesting people along the way. That's the key thing, it's finding those great stories and then meeting those people. It's really good. So that's why when we met Jane, for example, Tony's sister, you think, wow, this is a really good story, and she's such a good talker as well. So that's why we both of us as filmmakers knew that this would be really good when we met her, and Fergie as well.
Yeah. Just out of interest, do you know a guy called George Amponza?
No, who's that?
Oh, because he's a filmmaker for the BBC as well. He's the twin brother of one of my friends. But I just thought you might know him. We can edit that out, Matt. So yeah, the documentary itself. How did that come about? Because I was with Amadeus a couple of weeks ago when I was at Tidy, and he was saying that the sort of the early seedlings of that documentary were kind of around Tidy tracks, but then it sort of morphed into something else.
That's right. Yeah. So for years, I used to work at the Tidy Weekenders.
Actually, let's talk about that. Sorry, I forgot about that.
So that's why I know Ammo. Yeah, whilst as one of my first freelance jobs was the best job ever, which was working at a tidy weekender, which I would happily have paid to go to. But I used to run the diary room. So if anyone ever went to the diary room, that was me behind the curtain asking stupid questions. And my wife was the lady who used to let you in. So that was some absolutely amazing time. Some of the funniest things I've ever seen on film were in that room. So that was great. It's just amazing to like be around the Tidy Boys as a sort of mega fan. It just ace to hang around with them. So yeah, that was we did that for about 4, 5, 6 maybe weekenders, and just great fun, funny times. That Tidy, and it was, so that was that brainchild of Ammo and a guy called Dave Woodhead, who used to do all the visuals at Sundissential, and all those famous visuals. They used to make those amazing. So yeah, we worked together for ages. So when this idea that we could make this film came up, when you first start making a film, you don't know what it's going to be about. And obviously I know Ammo and Andy from the Weekender days. So I got in touch. And at the start of the project, you sort of like feeling out what the exact story is. And so we interviewed Ammo first. And so we asked him about Tidy as well and his journey, and then Tony and how that intertwined. And then as the project grew, it's more obvious what the story actually is about. And actually the Tidy story and the Jive Bunny story is definitely a documentary there. We've got to make that one. So it would be too many stories, I think, if you had like one day there's Jive Bunny in 1991, and then there's Tidy, and then there's at the same time Tony, and then there's Fergie. There's slightly too many stories. Yeah. You've got to focus on the key one, which was when we met Fergie. Actually, it was like, actually, it's about Fergie, it's about Andy, it's about Tony, it's those guys, and Ammo and Andy pick and like a big part of the story. But there's no way the documentary would exist without Tidy Tracks. Not only for their input into the film, but like they own all the music, and there's no way ever this would get made unless they were so helpful with that. Like this, if anyone out there tries to make a music documentary, it's unbelievably hard to clear the music and to afford to use any of the tracks. So those guys, they're the only reason it exists. So thank you to them.
They're good guys. It was like obviously they're always together. Like I don't even know the last time I saw them until 2 weeks ago. It was what freaks me out still is just how they look exactly like they did when I met them when I was 23.
Yeah.
They've just not changed. I actually saw Ammo posted a photo on Instagram from, it must have been like a few years before. I met them in 2000, and this picture was from like 95 is when they first set Tidy Tracks up, and they actually look different there. Both of them are just clinging onto the hair. You know, like Andy's forehead's like back here, but he's got it, and it's like, yeah, okay, you look different there.
I think Ammo looks more.
You what?
I think Ammo looks better every year. He's just more like shot, more fashionable every time you see him. He's like, oh, you're just looking really. And then have you ever seen that picture?
Yeah, like for.
Well, that's great.
Yeah, but Ammo, because he's pushing 60 now. It's nuts. Like he looks great. But yeah, you're right. Like what they've done for the scene and the way they've helped. I mean, myself and countless other people, and sort of projected people to bigger things is it's fantastic. They're such good guys. So I mean, much like when I go in the studio and do a track, I've got sort of bits of ideas, and I can hear it in my head, but then the thing that happens at the end, the track that I walk out with is not all, I mean, occasionally you get it bang on, but not very often. Like you've got like inspirations, and then so that's, I guess, when you're making a documentary, it's the same thing. You've got like a bit of an idea, roughly where you're going to get to, and then the further along you get, your sat nav kind of hones in a bit more, doesn't it? And so where you're trying to get to.
Oh yeah, definitely. And with this sort of documentary as well, like it could go in many different ways, but it also depends on who is willing to be in it or who the story. Like no one really knew maybe Jane and Fergie probably knew the story, and Andy probably the only people that nearly knew the full story. And so to people, you don't really know the best way to tell it. And so, yeah, exactly. So at the start of the film, you might be like, oh, actually, I think it'd be really good to have this Jive Bunny element because it talks about that sort of early 90s era. We're going to talk about what's it like, Grim Up North, Hillsborough was around this time of that. And then Jive Bunny comes and they're massive mega stars. And that was interesting. But actually, the Tony story and the Fergie story overtook that. But it was good because I also asked Andy and Emma about they had so much knowledge of Tony and they'd been to trade loads of times as well. So that's fine. All that stuff worked for both ways. And we were upfront at the time as well when we met Ammo for these interviews. It was like, we don't know what this is, so we're just going to ask you everything. And he loves to talk about those days, and he's such a good talker as well, and he's hilarious. So
yeah,
like 2 hours, and it's just one of the funniest interviews ever. We had such a good time. But yeah, and then as the process goes on, you sort of go, oh, actually, it's this. And then even really, really late on into the process, sometimes you find something out that just like, oh, hold on, wait a minute. Like with Danny Rampling is a good example. He wasn't in the film for like 70% of the project. And then I happened to find out that he was DJing the night that Fergie met Tony for the first time. Total fluke.
Right.
And so I just text Fergie and said, you don't happen to have Danny Rampling's number, do you? And he was like, yeah, of course. Like Fergie's got everyone's phone number. So I just rang up and he was up for doing the interview. So suddenly that makes the story much more rich if you've got a third person there who introduced them. That really helped. So yeah, it's things like that where you can't predict any of that stuff at the start of the project. At the start of the project, I don't know anyone. I only know the Tidy Boys. And that's it.
Yeah.
And so until you meet these people, you don't know.
Yeah. Well, it's a bit like this podcast. Like we had no idea we'd be doing what we're doing now when we started it, nearly a year ago. It's like you just roll with it, don't you? And just you keep finding your way. Is there anything that you found out about Tony DeVee that like surprised you, or like what was there any like big revelation that you sort of came about when you were making?
Yeah, I think for me, I was like, I still remember the moment I heard the first Tony DeVee record that I can definitely remember knowing what it was, and it was at the Q Club, October 2000, and Fergie played The Dawn, and that was like the moment I was like, what is this? And my best mate Ben was like, this is like Tony DeVee, not heard of this man, and so I didn't know about him at all really before then. So my sort of, and then at this time I was buying records. So I was buying I bought that on vinyl, and you sell their records. But I didn't really know much about him as an actual technical DJ. I think that was the thing that I learned about the project, was that people like Judge Jules, who was like the world's #1 DJ, Danny Rampling, world's #1 DJ, were saying this guy was the best DJ ever, was better than everyone. As a sort of mixing person and like know how to play a room. Well, you've seen him play, so you tell me. But the theory is that he would do things on a decks in an era where you only had vinyl that you just wouldn't do otherwise, like skills. There's loads of stuff we couldn't even fit in that Eats Everything said. He was telling us a trick where he would play a record and he could start a record mixed in and it would come into sync with it. I don't even know how you do that. You just literally hit play and then it would come into mix straight away. So technically, that was the thing I think.
I don't know.
I didn't thought that Tony was such a technically gifted DJ. I just thought he was a great producer, but he happened to be both.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so he was the DJ that became a producer. There's always people that, like for me, I was the DJ that started producing, and then you got like BK that was like, I think Ben was like a bedroom DJ, but he was a producer. Then started getting gigs. Paul Maddox only started DJing because bookings were coming in because of his tracks, and so yeah, it's funny how people go one way or the other. But I mean, the times that I saw Tony DeVee in Sundissential, Gatecrasher a couple of times. Like I would only go to Gatecrasher if Tony DeVee was playing. As soon as he finished, I'd go. I just went to see him. And where else did I see him? I saw him a few times, but certainly not enough. The thing that I really loved about the documentary was just all the, the footage from back in the day, and not even so much, the about Tony. It was just seeing the crowd, and because of that era, that's when I got into clubbing in '97. So all that footage of his, his last sort of few years, I'm assuming they were like the later. You're listening to the tracks that he was playing. They'd have to be. And yeah, just like the nostalgia of, like seeing what the girls were wearing. It was just, I loved it. Like I was, it really took me back. So that was awesome.
Filmed by Andy. As I said, a lot of that footage was filmed by Andy on like a little camcorder.
Right, okay.
And so we didn't even have that tape until very late on into the process. Jane just found it in a loft, I think. But there was 10 tapes like that. And when Tony died, the BBC made like a little feature of him on like a clubbing program. And the guy lost all the tapes who made them. So he kept them. So I managed to track him down, and he lives in like Eastern Europe. And I even paid for him to travel to another country across Europe to go to a secret vault where he kept all these tapes, and he couldn't find them. So the only 2 tapes in existence of that era that Andy filmed are in the film. So all that stuff of Gatecrasher, and then there's Cream on there, and then there's a whole trip to Australia. A lot of those nightclubs in Australia on that '97 tape. But it's also how people danced in those days as well. It's not this Sundissential wiggle, was it?
I think, that's probably right. Yeah, like the way, just the movement and everything. Yeah, literally. And the club I used to go to regular when I first started clubbing wasn't even a hard house club. It probably got that way towards the end, actually, just because of the influences of the people. Like a friend of mine, Tim Tom, he was one of the dancers there, but he was then, sort of asking for certain DJs to be on and stuff like that. But it was very much like a house club. But I had no fucking clue. I'd been listening to Metallica a few weeks before, and then someone said to me, "Come to this club," and that was it. But you're right. There's the way that they dance as well. It was different, and no cyber anywhere.
Yeah, no, that sort of. I was trying to figure out when cyber
that came 2 years later.
Trying to get into gate. Yeah, there's every week the Gatecrasher, you'd hear rumours he wouldn't let you in, and you always work. Because I used to wear a lot of Cyberdog stuff in the back in the day, and neon hair and all that.
Yeah. Well, my friend Tim that I was talking about, he once went to a club, and his hair, I don't know if he injured a girl somehow with his hair, because he'd spiked it and then used car spray, like bright orange car spray, and his hair was like solid on all these spikes, and I think he cut someone's face or something with his hair. But those were the days.
It was great times.
Yeah. Now, some people have said that the documentary was a bit more about Fergie than it was about Tony. But I think from our conversation, the stumbling block you had is that there was only, like you said, a tiny amount of footage of Tony. It's like, how do you make a 90-minute? How long is the documentary? Is it 90 minutes? 2 hours? Yeah. With 8 minutes of footage. But then, obviously, Fergie and Tony are so interlinked. Their stories are so intertwined. That it kind of makes sense that, that flowed like that. I mean, what's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, it's funny actually. We you don't really know until you show it to people how the balance is. We spend a lot of time trying to get the balance right of the film. But that's the answer to the forum question of like, why is there not as much Tony? And is that every single piece of Tony DeVee talking ever is in that film. Until someone found me a tape of him being interviewed, sat down, then that is it. So one of the good things we did find was on what's it called now? It's the SoundCloud. Some Kind Soul uploaded absolutely loads. Please go out there and listen to these. Loads of Tony DeVee's radio shows. And so that was really important to get in. Was that there was a lot of his voice on it. So having any footage of Tony, I mean, there's a clip in there of him on an ITV program, like a sort of late night chat show, wearing like a rugby shirt. And that was like probably the only time ever that Tony DeVee was ever on actual television. So we went to it cost us a fortune to buy 12 seconds of footage for that from ITV. We went to a lot of effort to try and find everything possible. But that's it. So getting his voice, and actually what was nice about getting his voice on the radio was there was loads of bits about him talking to Fergie on the radio and talking about the scene. And then even like nice sound bites where he'd say things like, "Oh, I've had loads of faxes in tonight," like stuff that you just would never hear on the radio ever again.
Loads of what?
Faxes. He was going, "Oh, thanks. We've had so many."
Faxes.
Had loads of faxes coming in for like, people would request the show by fax.
Yeah.
It's that, and I felt that we just tried to get as much of his voice in as possible. And that was the way that you'd feel like you got to know him a bit better. But so there's hardly anything. I mean, the footage of Tony showing around his studio, that was filmed by Amadeus from Tidy as well. Like, that's such a small world. That's Amo. So that's amazing video that he had there. But otherwise there's nothing. So I would love to have had more archive of Tony. That would have been fantastic. It just doesn't exist at the moment. So everything that he's ever said out loud on a camera is in that film. So
something that I actually realised when I was watching the film as well is I had no idea what his voice was like. I'd never actually heard him talk.
Yeah,
because obviously I'd seen him DJ, but it's not like I was having a chat with the guy.
Yeah, no, it's so funny, isn't it? Because I think we spoke briefly the day, and I've never spoke to you either. So it's funny, isn't it? You sort of have a conception, a preconception of what someone's like based on the fact that you've stared at them mixing for hours and hours, but you don't know what they're like at all. No. Exactly. And it's a mixed bag, isn't it? I think amongst DJs, some people are very friendly and some aren't. But he was, his voice, it's really interesting. He's got a nice Brummy accent that comes out. It's it's really nice.
Yeah. Well, I managed to do 27 years where people thought I was not like I am. Because they used to come and watch me mix and I didn't talk or smile or look at them.
Oh, no, that was the thing. Yeah. I think it played into that genre though, didn't it? That really tough genre at the end of the night where maybe you're going, right, this is my last hour in the club as well, and you wouldn't look up. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, you broke your head now. It must have been weird to actually grow it out and soften your image.
Yeah, well, I guess I was. The funny thing is, all the people that thought I'd shaved my head all those years because I'd lost my hair, and then when I grew it, and by the time I grew it, all these other people were losing their hair, so they're like, "You fucking prick!" Like, but I'm still clinging on to it. When Madders came on, he said, in fact, I don't know if he said it on the show or if he said it to me when I was chatting to him. But anyway, he said that watching himself on the documentary is what got him back in the gym.
Oh, wow.
Because he said he didn't realise how fat he'd got.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, I was amazing, mate. What a man. But yeah, no, it was, I think he said to me as well that seeing himself on screen and how he came across gave him a bit more confidence as to his, because I suppose in that line of work a lot of it's based on confidence, and I'm sure he got his new job soon after the film had come out, and it was so pleased with it all. But to turn your life around, that was amazing meeting him for the first time as well, because I think it was Dan Prince from Mixmag days. He used to promote Sundissential with Madders, didn't he? And he used to own Mixmag or run Mixmag, and he was the only person with his number. So I had a really funny conversation with Dan Prince, and then I got Madders' number, and we agreed to meet, and it was just, it was the funniest day ever. It was so funny, like taking Madders back to Pulse, and there's so much more of that. There's interviews about 4 hours. I'm sure you'll appreciate this. There are interviews about 4 hours long with Madders, but to cut it down.
Mate, there's probably a documentary about him that you can do.
Oh no, definitely. Yeah, there is. Yeah, well, the Sundissential, definitely. I would say definitely. I mean, that was the thing. That's why it's quite hard to squeeze everything in. we wanted Mathers in the film because Tony comes across so like calm and like this really sort of nice, easygoing bloke, and then he's got this talent, and then he's got this responsibility with Fergie as well. But also, the world he works has got people like Mathers. It's not like a normal job. The person who's running the place where Tony works is absolutely crazy, and he's on crack, and he's running around from the. It's absolutely mad. So that's why I really wanted that element in, because it's not. This is just such a bizarre world. So and there's people dancing on the dance floor. It's absolutely crazy.
Yeah. I've always found it funny that like. Indeed, I don't know if it's the same these days, but back when I started, it was like one of the only sort of jobs where people expect you to be fucked up while you're doing your job.
Oh yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like, oh, what have you had tonight? I've not had anything. I'm trying to concentrate on this. What are you talking about? But obviously, a lot of people. I could never do it. I just can't.
Like the Gurning Face, it was like so open in that era. I don't know if you could get away with that now. In this, I'm trying to think. Was it someone released an album cover with a drugs bag on it recently, and it caused loads of controversy. And but in those days, so open. I mean, like the Sundissential album had the Gurning Face, and you could buy it in W.H. Smith at the time, so it was pretty open.
Yeah. So what was I going to ask you? Yeah. So like from your perspective as not a DJ, as you've said, but like your perception will be different to mine, because I'm looking at it as, I do what Tony used to do. But you're coming at it from a different way. Like from your perspective, what is Tony's legacy? Like what do you see that he kind of left behind?
Yeah, the legacy is quite a lot, isn't it? Really, I think, because the theory is, I did a lot of research into this, and you can't. Yeah, the theory is that he's the godfather of hard house, isn't it? That's people always say, so as genre, and you can sort of see the progression. If you actually, I did a lot of research into like the music styles he made. Like, so he played at Miss Moneypenny's, was playing house, and then he would happily play genre. And trance wasn't even a word until sort of 97, was it anyway? So it was like mixing genres all the time. But I think the key thing, you could argue that there's like a genre of music where certainly the 10 years after it passed was very, very popular. Hard house was, and the sounds that he was creating are in all the music that, like the Hoovers in the music you make. It's all that's from that era. And then I think his key was bringing those elements together, like the song, like the track "I Already," the Hoovers in that. The sound sample is from like a sort of slow techno record, isn't it? Surgery. So it was that, I think, that maybe it was like the sound that he was sort of creating and for himself lived on, and then it's come back, hasn't it? So 25 years later, we've got like I'm wearing a Dove t-shirt, like Hannah Lang, people like that. It's full circle. So I suppose the legacy is that little niche genre that he made is sort of still thriving today. And actually, all those songs are getting remixed, aren't they? Or by people who are young DJs now, like popular young DJs, like Simone, who's just been nominated for up and coming DJ for Mixmag this year. She's playing loads of people today on dance floors, dancing to the dawn. So that is pretty good, I'd say, for one guy who was sort of active for 10 years in that world. At his peak, that's pretty good legacy. And obviously the legacy as well is that Fergie went on to conquer the world and do his thing as well. So and create his own amazing life from a difficult start out in life. Tony helped him into this new life he's got. So it's his birthday actually this week. So Fergie's. So he's still got all the. He's still got the mixer that Tony gave him to him on his birthday, like 30 years ago. So, Yeah, it's that thing. It's the legacy of like the genre, which we still love, and you're still doing a podcast of. You can't argue that Tony's influence on that. It's probably that, and who else is the biggest influence in hard house? Really, like probably Tidy, isn't it? And then it's that.
Yeah.
So that without those two, is the British hard house scene probably isn't the same.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I always, and I've said this a few times, like when Tony was breaking through, breaking through, like playing at clubs like Gatecrasher. And like I said, I would only go to Gatecrasher if he was playing. But then when he passed away, it seemed like, and Amadeus had a different take on this. He because he was like talking about the numbers of sales that they were doing at Tidy and all this. But for me, it felt like Hard House and kind of took a back seat, and the Gatecrasher trance sound really sort of overtook for that 98, 99. But then early 2000, and the reason I say that it exploded in 2000 was because I can't see how any DJs were doing 4, 5, 6 gigs a week before 2000. There were so many gigs happening in, when Insomniacs exploded, I exploded with it. And then, there were all these other things that were popping up here, there and everywhere. But I still think that had Tony have not passed away, Hard House would have peaked a lot sooner. And I wouldn't have got the opportunity that I got because it would have peaked in 98, 99, rather than me sort of, I came in early 2000, and then the crest of the wave through 2000 is what, I came up on. So I don't think I would have got the opportunity. I mean, who knows? But I think it would have peaked a lot sooner because he was really sort of bringing it through, like those Global Underground. I remember reading an interview in it must have been Mixmag or something, where the guys that produced the Global Underground CDs, they were like talking shit about Hard House. And I thought, because I'm pretty sure that Tony's Tel Aviv was the first one. I think that was Global Underground 1, I think, or it's certainly one of the earlier ones. And yeah, like I remember at the time thinking, well, that's a bit shit because 2 of your best sort of releases were Hard House. But so it just seemed like for a couple of years everybody was like really looking down on Hard House, and trance, the Gatecrasher trance sound was the big thing. And then certainly in 2000 through to probably 2004, it just went bananas. But you're right, like I said, there's so many sort of facets to it, like the DJing, but then the productions, and then just what he did for the scene. Funny story, I a few weeks ago, well, when did we first connect? Probably a couple of months ago, wasn't it?
A couple of months ago,
yeah. So that morning, or the night before, I'd had a dream that I'd done a podcast like this, interviewing Tony, but like through AI.
Oh wow!
So the technology had so it was like I was talking to him, but it wasn't obviously him. So I woke up, and then that night, now bear in mind I'd never spoken to Jane in my life, and I got a Facebook message from her saying, "Oh, I've been watching the podcast, really enjoying it. You should speak to Phill." I'm like, Jesus Christ! I was talking to your brother this morning. It's so it's crazy.
It's meant to be. Yeah. That's it. Well, that's what's good about Jane, is that her memory for all the things that Tony said is like crystal clear.
Yeah.
So you can actually get a really good feel for that. But yeah. Actually, I think
Jane would say. She's,
sorry, go on.
Sorry, go on. Oh no.
I was saying, I think Jane would, just going back to the legacy question, I think Jane would be quite keen to talk about like the gay legacy as well. Like I think the sort of how the things have changed as well. Like he was like, it seems mad to think that Tony was like the first openly gay DJ who would sort of marry those two worlds together. But I think that's one thing that I grew up with. I mean, if you were a club in similar era, was hard house clubs were so gay friendly that I would come back home and like talk about people. Like you go back to college and you say, "Oh, there's loads of gay people at Sundissential," and you get some like funny looks, and you're like, "Oh, actually, this world's loads better." Like the hard house community was always so like not bothered by that at all, because there's so many, like, especially
Well, mate,
Sundissential.
it was their scene. They let us in.
Yeah, exactly. And so that when people like everything talks about that as like that's a creative world as well. Like people in that like that sort of gay clubbers are like really really flamboyant. They have a great time. It's party atmosphere, and so that's another legacy. It's like that thing that Tony helps us open the door for that sort of enjoyment that we could all like. You just sort of like the hard house world was just so like in the era where it wasn't that so like if you went to a nightclub in 1997 and there's like the gay people there and it wasn't a dance club, it probably wasn't that friendly, whereas it always was. For it's always like that. It's just normal. So I think there are light years ahead. Tony's idea of like what life should be was light years ahead, probably 20 years ahead of its time in that world.
Yeah, that's a good insight. Yeah, I'd not actually thought about that. So what's on the horizon for you? Like, what's the next project?
So we're halfway through editing. We're making a cycling film actually. So totally different again. I do quite a lot of sport work generally. Like yesterday, I was actually working on NFL of all things.
Okay.
But I work on
right.
Well, so but we do a lot. We've done sport documentaries before, like with Tommy Fleetwood and people like that. So we've got a cycling film out, which should be coming out. Actually, it's going to be. We're hoping it'll be premiered in Sheffield next year. Funny enough, you're stopping. But and that's so that's another film like this where it's our project. So we're just making it off our own bat. We're not being commissioned by broadcasters. So like with the Tony DeVee film, Amazon Prime didn't go, oh, could you please make a film about Hard House? Here's $1 million. They didn't do that. We just had to make it with our own money and just hope that people like it. So that's the same cycling one. So that's what we're up to at the moment. So it takes about 8 weeks to edit a film. So it's that's my role at the moment, and then hopefully that'll be a success as well.
So going back to the Amazon Prime thing, how has it been as successful as you'd hoped?
Yeah, I think so. I think you always want one of the good things about modern streaming is if it'd been on BBC like we were when we worked there, the difference is that let's say that BBC had bought it. It goes on telly once, and then the Radio Times say next Thursday, don't ever stop. It's on BBC One, and then who watches live telly? No one. So you might end up quite things we'd make. People wouldn't watch it, or we've made quite a few documentaries, and it would be like, oh no, well the thing is the Prime Minister's having some political issues, so we're going to bump your documentary to tomorrow, and then we're going to play this thing about it. So the television thing, it became more of a problem for documentaries in my view. So actually having on a streamer is helpful because it's just there forever, and then people can always find a new thing. Like I'm on TikTok every day, and people are literally like, "What? Oh, this is amazing! What is this?" around the world. So what's really nice about the Amazon thing is that it's not like it came out in March or April this year, but people still think it's brand new, and that sort of the momentum is just still bubbling over, and so that's what's quite nice about it. Is you can people keep finding it, and what we'd like to do is to try and broaden the horizon. I think a lot of people in Hard House world have heard of it, but obviously Tony's sound and the story itself is slightly broader than that. But so far, I'm really pleased. There's so much positive feedback. I'd love to know what you think of it as well.
Oh, it's fantastic. I mean, I struggled to get it though. Because me being in Australia, so I went to, and it said, "Oh, not available in this region." So that was like, you want to have a word with them about that, because there'd be a lot of Hard House fans here that would want to watch it. Yeah.
Well, we've got it, but not on Amazon though.
Say again.
It does. We have got it. Yeah, Amazon doesn't work in Australia, but we have got a separate. It's on Vimeo worldwide. If you want to.
Oh right. Okay. Sorry. Yeah. Well, we'll link to that in the. I mean, I'm sure everyone that's listening to this has probably already seen it, but we'll link to it anyway. But going back to what you were saying about the streaming thing, that's what we're finding with the podcast is that we'll have an episode like the Madders episode, for example, just went nuts. And I thought it might sort of fly under the radar a little bit, because it's not like we can promote, a lot of the people that we do episodes with, we collaborate with on social media, so then their audience sees it. Well, Madders is not on, but yeah, his episode went crazy. But then what we find is that, the Lisa Lashes episode, or the Tidy Boys episode, or the E&M episode, or Paul King, whatever, we look back a month later and they've got another 200 views, because people then start going back through the catalogue. So, everything's new to everybody the first time they see it.
Great way of doing it. But everyone thought he was died. I think that's the main thing, is that he came to our premiere and people were literally like, "Oh my God, Madders has just walked in."
Yeah,
that was fun.
Yeah, well, it was good to see him when I had a chat. I was hoping to catch up with him while I was back in the UK, but then his mum wasn't well, and so that didn't work out. But thankfully, she's all right now. But yeah, it was. I was kind of, when I got connected with it, I can't remember who it was, but someone messaged me and said, "Oh, you should get Madders on." And my initial reaction was, "What? He's still alive?" Because I think I said that could be a risky move. I think I said, and then they said, "No, he sorted himself out. He's cleaned himself up." And then they had no way of getting in touch with him, but they knew the centre that he'd had treatment at, I think it was, and I sent them an email, and then they passed it on, and then I just get this Facebook WhatsApp message. "Now then, Glazer." I'm like, "Oh, that's Madders." And then I had a chat with him. But yeah, like, I remember feeling like, just before I got on the FaceTime call with him, feeling a bit weird, because it was like, some people that you just think you're never going to see again, and then like you're seeing a ghost,
What was it? I asked you back in the day, in that sort of, in his worst moment when you were DJing at Sundissential, what was it like to be there as the DJ around him?
I remember I would always try and shield the decks a little bit, just to make sure he didn't fall into them. But yeah, you just never knew what he was going to say. Like, he, I mean, he was always a good guy. It was one of those. The worst part was at the end of like when you finish your set and you're trying to find him to get paid. That was the worst bit.
Oh yeah.
But that's why it was good being on Tidy Management, because I used to let them sort that out, so I didn't have to worry. But yeah, he's and he's another person that, like, the sort of, because all the events now that you've got, like your whether it's Insomniacs or the big Tidy events, and like in Sundissential, we're doing that 4 or 5 years before. Did you ever go to Sundissential?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Like when it was like proper, because it kind of, it faded a bit towards the end. You walk in and go, "God, is this Sundissential?" Because it just didn't. But there was times I used to say that for 5 days after being at a Sundissential, if you close your eyes, you'd see those yellow and red, like the stick people, because they would literally be like the branding. It was just like next level. And then, you'd have some guy walking around with a fucking python wrapped around him, like this guy. I can't remember. I'm pretty sure they used to pay him to be there. I don't think he just turned up with a snake, but he'd have like leather trousers on and no shirt, and this snake. And then the girls that would just be like in body paint, and then, like the stilt walkers, and it was just insane. Like what you'd never knew what especially when it was like when you first started, or maybe it was always the same, but when I used to go to Pulse in Birmingham and I was like new to it all, maybe it felt like there was more happening. I don't know, but yeah, it was
that's so
like what those guys did.
There's a guy with the surfboard as well. Do you remember the guy with the surfboard and the computer screen on his head? That was amazing. I still love that.
Oh God, no, I don't remember that. To be fair, there's a lot of hazy times during those days.
Well, but venue was Q Club. That was where that was for me. It was just massive, 5,000 odd people, and then it just like how tall it was as well. It's just like there seemed to be just people like almost like a football stadium sized room, and that's unbelievable. And it's all knackered now. It's all fallen apart, that building, which is such a shame.
Oh really?
I used to love that. Yeah, I go Sundissential virtually every week. I loved it. It was so much fun, and they're dressing up and just like all sorts of just madness, just absolutely crazy stuff going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then you'd have, so like you said, you got Madders, who's this, you know, absolute nutcase, and then you know, you look across and the best DJ in the world is you know, just head down mixing, you know, like, yeah, good times.
Yeah.
I
think I'd catch Madders every now and then, and he'd be like away from the stage, and he's actually he seemed really scary to me at the time, because he'd sort of like just this big character, sort of, I don't know, it's like almost like, because he was on the mic.
Well, it looked like the ghost from Christmas Past, didn't it, with that white shirt that he'd always have on, like half buttoned up, chest hair busting out, lips like, you know, one going one way, one going the other, eyes everywhere, and then his matted hair like the wild man of Borneo. Yeah, he was definitely a character.
The film, did you notice that one shot where he's introducing the Tidy Boys, and then on the stage, and then he sort of turns and staggers off, and it was a totally random clip we found somewhere else, and he just like, you're looking at his face, he's absolutely gone, and the reason why is because he was on heroin and all sorts. I didn't realise it was even that bad at the time. You know, you're there and you're thinking that's.
But the crazy thing is like encyclopaedic knowledge. You know, like what he can remember.
This is the thing.
I used to do a few pills and I can't remember, and he was on smack.
I know, you know. Remember, and he was like, "Oh, let me think about it," and then he'd get it, and you think, his recall is absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Like, see.
Yeah. So obviously the documentary is called "Don't Ever Stop." Matt was saying that you should maybe do one about me, about retiring and then becoming a real estate agent and then making a comeback, and we'll call it "Never Really Stopped."
Yeah, well, go fine. Yeah.
I don't think I've quite got the legacy to carry that film, but yeah, it's an excellent watch. If you've not seen it, you should definitely check it out. Like I said, we'll put a link in the show notes. And actually, your cycling thing, I'll have a chat with you about that later, because I've got a friend who's got like a cycling product. He might want to sponsor your premiere, because he lives in Sheffield. Excellent, mate. Well, thanks for making the time to come on. Thanks for making the film. It was, like I said, a massive trip down memory lane, and sort of taught me some things that I wasn't even aware of. And obviously, I'm so entrenched in the scene. But yeah, it was fantastic. So well done.
No, well, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. And it's all a bit bizarre for me, because like I'm just someone who likes dance music and went to the clubs, and it's sort of, it's so bizarre now. And if you Google the film, like my name's next to Tony's name and stuff, so it's all it's all a bit odd for me. Like you're used to the limelight as a sort of superstar DJ, but it's all a bit odd for me. I'm enjoying getting to meet you lot on these things. So that's great.
Yeah, excellent. All right, mate. Well, I look forward to seeing your stuff in the future, and let's keep in touch.
Nice one. Cheers, Paul.
Thanks, pal. Take care.
You are listening to Hard House History with Paul Glazby.